Leadership Story Talks, where we discuss the practices that engage, motivate, develop, retain, and attract people to businesses. We'll give you principles and tools based on real-world stories to leverage listening and storytelling to become a better leader and management professional. Leadership Story Talks is produced by Narrative, a company that focuses on personal storytelling for business.
Welcome to Leadership Story Talks. I am Jerome DeRoy, CEO of Narrative.
And I'm Julienne Ryan, and it's great to be back chatting with you.
Yes, lovely to be back and to see you, Jules. And I want to remind right off the bat our listeners to please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. You can find it everywhere you find podcasts. We're on every platform, literally. And also to leave a review, because that creates word of mouth and more people find us and can benefit from all these great insights that we both have and that our clients have and that our guests have. That's what we aim to share with you all. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. And we're excited to kick off a new season.
Yes, and Jerome, when you say September, I have this instant response. It's back to school, whether you're a kid, whether you've been out of school for years, it's just embedded in me. So it's about learning and relearning what we thought we learned and forging on. So I'm owning that as my theme for September, and I'm sharing it with you.
Yeah, I love it. That also resonates with me. I have to say, back to school. September is back to school, and you know we've so some of us have been fortunate enough to have some vacation in the summer, and you know it's a little hard to adjust sometimes, but but here we are. It's back to school, and you know that's theme number one, and I think as part of that, what we're looking at in September and what you can look forward to in these episodes is culture. And, you know, that's what we chose as a theme for the month of September. We've chosen guests accordingly as well. And, you know, what we've noticed, I'll kick this off right away with just what we noticed this summer. And that this VUCA world, which you've heard us talk about, you know, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, you know, all of that has not gone away. If anything, it seems like Miracle Grow has been put on it. And so it's a very uncertain world. And I know many of you are contending with that. And so we were interested in looking, you know, how does culture shift? How does an organizational culture shift in the face of this increasingly uncertain world that we're in?
Yeah, I can speak to that because in the coaching world, the work I'm doing, I've seen people getting impacted recently. Either they have been let go, or members of their organization have been transitioned out for a host of different reasons. And it's changing also in the way things have been notified, because in days of yore, you would be in a hallway, you would start to get signs of the fact that, you know, doors were shutting and conversations were starting to happen. But it's taking a lot of the clients by surprise, and the groups, and the impact whenever you do a downsizing restructuring, it stays within your group and your organization for many years. There was research back in the 90s and the early 2000s, every time there was a recession or a downturn in the market, that once you let people go, it changes the conversation and how people engage. And I think more so now of the element of surprise. It's going to stay in that person's psyche as well as their colleagues. So I think that's something we have to be mindful of. So we might have been in 1.0 classes in the sessions we have, but now it's time to take a look at the 2.0 version, some of the topics we've been discussing.
Yeah, and I wonder, Jules, what your observation is in terms of, you know, the storytelling piece that we often talk about on this podcast, obviously because of where we come from, but because now we're talking about the organizational story, and that might be about, you know, an organization having to let go people, but then what's the story that these individuals have to now tell about themselves in order to figure out the next step of their career? Is that something you're seeing?
I think Yes, because there is a cognitive dissonance when a few years ago we were talking about that people were leaving and people were trying to hold on to their employees and saying that was their mission of the moment. Now people are,
Mm,
being asked to exit. So there's cognitive dissonance. And I
mm,
think more than ever is having a leadership story and figuring out how you're going to connect and motivate and help your staff navigate some of the challenges they may be experiencing, and giving them something to work with is more important.
yeah.
The other point that comes up to me is keeping certain things that we all think is important in line of sight. We have been talking about diversity and equity and inclusion, how to keep that in our radar screen and still make it part of the conversation, that we don't push that to side because we've had some tough moments or tough days in our organization. So those are two top of mind things about leadership, and then keeping themes in line of sight for us as we move forward.
Yeah, and I think what you've just reflected on here makes me think of the two sides of the equation for our listeners. Whether you're part of an organization, and thinking about the next move for the organization, or whether you're one of these people who are trying to figure out the next move in terms of your career. And to me, at the heart of it all are the values. What are those values that drive you? So if DEI was important before all those changes, why wouldn't it continue to be important if that's part of the values that drive the organization? And I think there is a temptation to have a kind of knee-jerk reaction to these events, rather than being able to sort of see long-term, no, this is what we stand for, and that hasn't changed, right? And so I would encourage people to, no matter which side of the equation you're on, to go back to those values and see what they mean today. These are not meant to be to go stale, but there is a risk that they will, and you might even think that they're outdated. But look at those values and see what they mean for this moment, because that should still continue to drive that. And if you do need new values or an adjustment in those, now's a great time to do that, because then those stories that come out of that work will be much more relevant to the audiences that you deal with and to what you have to do. And the last point is on that reflection is, you mentioned DEI, and that's purposeful because we have our next two episodes are going to be with guests who are in that world, from different perspectives, and they're going to be talking about how DEI impacts culture and why DEI should be part of the culture of an organization, and why it's so important to keep your focus on that, even in a time when perhaps those initiatives may seem not as urgent. So that's just something I wanted to reflect on. Yeah.
And what I like about those upcoming episodes is they're taking rather related but unique lenses. One individual is looking at measurements and how data can really drive a storyline and support it into successful conclusions or productive conclusions. We're not talking about one and done solutions. And the other individual is going to be looking at language, in the language and how we use it and how it informs our listening and how we build in cultures. And at the top of it, it is leadership. The leadership has to show that it is valuable and important, and it is a good use of your time and a valuable asset, and should be as key to your daily work as breathing. So that is the challenge and the mission of the moment.
Yeah, and be sure to tune into those episodes, because you'll actually get tools that are very practical from them, and you'll learn a lot from the insights of our guests. So we're excited about that. Great. Well, listen, this has been another great episode. Thanks so much, Jules, and I'm so happy that we're back, and
Yes.
and I'm excited to share so many of these insights in the weeks going forward, and see how Culture Month and Back to School Month evolve in September. And really want to thank our listeners for being here again.
Well, I think we can end on one thing. Do you remember
Yeah.
way back in school, we'd always say, like, what did you do in your summer vacation or summer break? I'd like to share that I was fortunate enough to be part of in-person workshops, and I got to see firsthand in an actual room where my clients were the beauty of storytelling and how it really reinforced connection and opened up conversations. So it became that catalyst that helped drive people forward. So on your side, what did you learn about storytelling this summer?
Yeah, same. I also had an opportunity to be in person, so that was great. And just being able to travel has been wonderful. And I would say again, for me, it was. I spoke about values earlier because I had an opportunity to do this work where we worked off of the values of an organization who's actually in the midst of rethinking their brand and refreshing it. So we had a whole marketing team that we took through the narrative listening and storytelling method as an inspiration, essentially, and see what would come up. And it's been pretty extraordinary what has come up since for this organization, and the kinds of slogans that they've come up that are new, more relevant to the new audiences that they're working with. So that's been really great to see all of that be brought to life. You work with an organization and you see something on their website or in their brochure, and then you meet the people, and now it's like, oh, okay, now I'm seeing the living, breathing thing, and then you see the result of it afterwards. So that's been really fantastic.
So great to be in rooms, great to feel the energy changing, shifting, seeing it exit. And my favorite was I got to eavesdrop, because when you walk around the room, you can listen in to what people are saying, even though you can't be part of every story sharing. So that's my happy place from this summer.
Love it.
There you go. You're caught up.
Great. Well, thanks, Jules, for that. And I want to take this opportunity to this is a good transition, I think, to tell people that if you and your organization want to have that kind of experience that we've just described, where you really get to see how storytelling can bring to life these messages and these experiences so that you're more relevant to your audiences and attract the audiences you want to attract, it's a great time to be doing this work. And so please don't hesitate to reach out directly to us. You know where to find us: narrative.com, NARATIV.com. If you want to look at our archive of podcasts, you can also go to our website, NARATIV.com/podcast. That's where you'll find all the old episodes. And finally, I'm going to repeat this, but please don't forget to subscribe. That's how you can really make sure you're not missing any episode. And leave a review, because that really drives the word of mouth and gets more people to listen to that and benefit from these same insights you're benefiting from. So thanks again for all of you listeners, and really looking forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Till then. Bye, Jerome, and bye, everyone.
Bye.
For more information on the narrative listening and storytelling method and how it can help your business, go to narrative.com.